Hello, good morning. Even though I'm about to go to bed, I'm gonna try to make this very quick. I know I said I wouldn't really do any book reviews with my bonnet on, but I don't know when the next time I'm gonna take my hair down, and I don't want to forget these last two books that I finished listening to. One yesterday morning and the other one like a week ago, and it's actually one before that I should be doing a book review on, but I don't really remember that, and I was kind of scatterbrained when I was listening to it, so I'm gonna just skip that one. I'm gonna do two in one. So I'm gonna definitely try not to have this be too long, because normally even doing just one is hella long. So two in one, I'm gonna really have to pace myself. But I'm gonna do books 11 and 12 of the Ghost of books. Hold on, I don't have my phone so I can show y'all. Wait. Okay, so this is what it looks like. It's called The Ghost Who Stayed Home, and that is what it looks like. And this is book 11. I did book 11 and 12. I'm doing something else now. Basically, the police chief, who is really good friends with Danielle, the girl who inherited Marlowe House, he was dating a woman, and his backstory: he's a single father, he has two sons, his wife died, their mother died. He was dating a new lady, and they had been together for a little while. The guy, Chris, who Danielle is kind of crushing on, they're crushing on each other, but nobody's really made a move, but they've been crushing on each other for a while. He is low-key rich. When I say that, I mean he goes by a different last name because he don't want people to know who he is, so that they're not bothering him. But he's rich. He took Danielle, the police chief's girlfriend, Danielle's best friend, and her boyfriend, I believe, on, it was supposed to be a vacation for, I think, 4 days. And he rented out a private plane. The day that they were leaving, the pilot that he hired to fly this plane supposedly got sick and couldn't fly, so somebody else had to step in and fly the plane, a pilot that he didn't know. Long story short, when they got ready to take off, they had given them something to drink. Their drinks was laced with something that knocked them out, and when they woke up, they were in an abandoned warehouse. Didn't know where the plane was, and it had got back to the town that they all live in, that the plane crashed, so everybody in the town thought that they were all dead. But Chris had gotten hurt right after they landed, wherever they landed. He had fell and hit his head, and basically the people who were flying the plane, they actually hijacked the plane and had locked up the actual pilot somewhere the day before or earlier that day. He wasn't actually sick. They had locked him up somewhere and hid him. The fake pilot, he wasn't actually a pilot, but he knew how to fly a plane from his younger years. They had basically sought up Chris because they knew that he was rich, and they wanted him to give them money. Nobody was supposed to get hurt. They were just supposed to make him give them, I think, $6 million or something like that. I don't know how people were supposed to find him, but nobody was supposed to get hurt. But Chris ended up falling and hurting his head, and he was unconscious. The police chief's girlfriend, she's a nurse, so they were making her help him the whole time that they had everybody in this abandoned warehouse. They had them tied up, but they had a trailer that was somewhere near the warehouse, and that's where they had Chris's body. He was alive, but he was unconscious, and his head was bleeding really bad, and they made the police chief's girlfriend take care of him because she was a nurse. They didn't want to call the cops because clearly they kidnapped these people and they drugged them and they were trying to rob Chris. But because he was unconscious, they knew they weren't going to get the money from him, and they waited days hoping he would wake up. They figured out that Danielle was also rich, but a lot of her money was tied up, and the amount that she could give them wasn't enough. Police chief's youngest son, he's like Danielle, he could talk to ghosts, and he just knew that his dad wasn't dead. Everybody else in the town thought he was. He managed to convince Danielle's neighbor Heather to help him because Heather could also see ghosts. Not as good as him or Danielle or Chris, but she could see ghosts. They managed to get it to the police without telling how they knew that these people were still alive, and the FBI got involved. They ended up finding the plane, but they still didn't know where the people were. It took them a few days after they found the plane before they found the people. And it turns out that the police chief's girlfriend, she was actually in on it. She wasn't who she said she was. She was actually the man who was like the main person in the whole scheme. She was his sister. They had been working on this for like a year before, so she pretended to be the police chief's girlfriend, or she fooled him into thinking she really wanted to be with him, but she really didn't. She did all of that just so that they could try to rob Chris. So once they found the plane, they kind of started putting the pieces of the puzzle together, and the little boy, the police chief's son, he was just gun-ho that his dad was not dead and he was alive, and he knew it. And Walt was helping them. If you know, remember, Walt is the ghost that hunts Marlowe House. His dad built Marlowe House, and his spirit is there, so he helped them also. That's another reason why the little boy and Heather couldn't say how they knew that their dad was alive. They ended up finding the people and arresting the police chief's girlfriend and her brother and everybody that was in it. It was like 4 of them. And it was also another spirit that Danielle saw that at first she thought was one of the people who was a part of the scheme, but he was actually a spirit, and he wanted to help get them out of there, but he couldn't because he was a spirit. But there was a bridge that apparently came from London, the country. Like, they took it apart, brought it to the US and put it back together, and he was attached to that bridge. And the bridge was in the area where they landed the plane and where all of the kidnapped people and the people a part of the scheme, they were near the bridge. So that's where he came from. He was kind of like floating between where they had the victims hid and this trailer where the schemers were and where Chris was. He was trying to help them, but the FBI ended up finding them. They all went to prison and they didn't get a dime. But Chris ended up living. They took him to the hospital, and he was in the hospital for a few days, and then he went to stay with Danielle for a week, but he was fine. So that's the gist of that one. They wanted money from Chris. The 12th one, I just couldn't get into it, and to me it was just so slow compared to the rest of them. Like, the rest of them, for the most part, they start these audibles, the ghosts, they all have 40 chapters, but they're short. They're not long, like 12 minutes, 15 minutes at the most, 7 minutes, 8 minutes, but they have 40 chapters. And normally the pieces of the puzzle start to go together between like chapter 20 and chapter 23-ish. And this one, it didn't start moving until like chapter 25, 26. Like, it was just so slow, and I'm just like, is it ever gonna get to that point? Like, it was just taking too long, and I don't know, I just didn't enjoy it as much. I mean, I still would recommend it, but to me, out of the now 12 that I've listened to, this one is my least favorite. But it's called The Ghost and the Leprechaun, and this is what it looks like. And like I said, I finished this one very early yesterday morning. Like, I was just determined to get it done once I saw I was close. This one is about it's a couple who wanted to steal the missing Thorndike necklace from Danielle because they were going to sell it and get the money from it. She had it in a safety box at the bank because it's worth over $1 million. She went to check on it, but she had recently inherited some gold coins because they belonged to Walt, and she inherited everything that had to do with Walt because Walt left it to her family member and it fell to her. And some gold coins that came from a few books ago from the ship, the one about the boat. Also, she had 2 safety deposit boxes at the bank. She had one with the necklace, and then she had one with the gold coins, and she went to check on them. They had just got out of probate with the courts. She went to check on them, and they were missing. It was an employee, a lady who was there when she put them in the bank, so she knew that they were there. And it was a new bank manager because the old bank manager, he had either gotten killed in one of the other stories or he was in prison. I can't remember. I want to say he got killed. So this was a new bank manager, and you would think that in reality that if somebody's putting something in a safety deposit box at the bank, that a bank manager would have to be there to witness that, not just an employee. But he says he wasn't around. It was just the employee. I kind of knew he had something to do with it because he was really hostile when the cops was questioning him about these coins being missing. Like, he was just too defensive for somebody who didn't have nothing to do with it. But at that time, nobody would think that he had anything to do with it because, you know, he's the bank manager. I kind of knew, like, how he was acting, it wasn't right. They checked all of the footage clearly to see what happened because every bank has cameras everywhere. It's a bank. There was like a 2-minute point where the camera moved from where her box was, and then it moved back. It was only 2 ways that could happen. Either a human did it or somebody went in the system and did it. And this was in the middle of the night, so clearly it wasn't a human because nobody's at the bank in the middle of the night. It's closed. It would have had to have been done electronically through the system. They brought in the FBI, or the FBI stayed from book 11, but they came back with this because this is, you know, some gold coins that are worth over $1 million and they've gone missing, that's a big deal. And you know, that's a federal crime. And the FBI, they were just gung-ho thinking that Danielle had something to do with it, even though she's a millionaire. She inherited a house, a mansion. She inherited a necklace that's worth over $1 million. These gold coins. Like, she's rich. But they kept thinking that she wanted to write off the gold coins on her taxes. But she was giving away so much money because she always felt like one person can't use all that money. The FBI was just so gung-ho that she was gonna really write off these gold coins on her taxes. But everybody knew she had nothing to do with it. They were her gold coins. That makes no sense. She went to the bank and got the necklace out because she didn't trust the bank. You know, they lost her gold coins. So she took the necklace out, and she had a safe at Marlowe house in her bedroom behind a picture, behind a painting. So that's where she took it. And it was a couple that came into town, and they were going to stay at Marlowe house because they wanted to steal the necklace, sell it for the money. She had no idea. Clearly she thinks that they're regular guests. They were really there to steal the necklace. They come to town. They have everything set up with the bank manager. They have fake, it's not a fake credit card, but it's a credit card that they use for all their schemes. And they have fake IDs. They change their names. His wife is wearing a wig or dyed her hair or something to look like the lady on the picture, on the fake ID. Like, it's a whole scheme. It's another lady who, she lives at home with her mom. She's a single mom. She has a daughter. I forgot what she does as her job. I can't remember what she does, but she has like a regular job, but like she's struggling because she's a single mom and she lives at home with her mom. Once everybody in the town heard about the gold coins being stolen from the bank, a lot of people started going to the bank and taking their stuff out of their safety deposit boxes because they didn't trust that the bank were gonna keep them. You know, they didn't know who stole these gold coins, so they didn't trust the bank. So this lady's mom had some odd end shit at the bank, and she told her daughter to go get it out of the deposit box because she didn't trust it being in the bank anymore. So when she went to get the stuff out of the bank, out of the deposit box, the gold coins were in her deposit box. So somebody moved them from Danielle's box, which is in a different part of the bank, to her box. And there was this figure that was seen around town. Chris saw him first. And like I told y'all in the first half of this video, Chris can see ghosts, but he thought it was a regular person dressed like a leprechaun. And it's not Halloween, but he thought it was a regular person that was really short, a regular man that was short, dressed like a leprechaun. So he didn't think nothing of it. He thought it was strange, but he didn't think nothing of it. And then Heather, she was getting ready to come to the Marlowe house, and she saw the same figure. Remind you, Heather can see ghosts too. She saw it floating in the air, looking in Danielle's window. And she was driving, and she crashed into Chris's car, and he had a brand new fancy car, and she crashed into his car while she was driving and told Danielle that it was a figure floating looking in her window. And this is at nighttime. Now they're trying to figure out what this figure is. Chris saw it like earlier that day, and then Heather saw it, and then Danielle ended up seeing it after Heather told her that she had saw it floating. So they started, you know, being the Nancy Drews that they are, started trying to figure out who he was, while Danielle's also trying to figure out where her gold coins are. So they started doing their own little investigation. And the lady who found the gold coins in her safety deposit box, she took the gold coins somewhere to hide them because she was struggling financially. and I guess she was gonna sell them and get the money. And she knew Danielle had been giving away money, so she felt like it was okay. So she hid them somewhere, and they found out who this Leprechaun guy was. He was somebody that had been dead for a long time, but he didn't know he was dead. Danielle talked to him and told him that he was dead, and then he changed his clothes into how he really wanted to dress. I guess at the time of his death, he was dressed like a leprechaun. He was like a trickster type person, always playing tricks on people, and thought it was cool to dress like a leprechaun. And he was short. I guess he really looked like a leprechaun. But once he realized he was dead, he dressed normal. Before he knew he was dead, and when he was looking in Danielle's window, he wanted his gold coins because he felt like he was a leprechaun. So he felt like those were his gold coins. He was the one that actually moved them and put them. He moved them, but I don't think that did he put them. I'm not sure if he said that he put them in this lady's box or not, or if the bank manager did. He knew where she put them, so he took Danielle to where the lady hid the coins, and it was a hut. And in the second book, that's the hut that Danielle's cousin's body was found in when she got killed, when she took the necklace the night of the home opening for Marlowe House, and somebody killed her for the necklace, and that's where her body was dumped. That's where this lady put these gold coins. So Danielle kind of played off of that because the FBI had been watching her because they thought she had something to do with the gold coins being missing. So then when she found them, they arrested her because they thought they felt like she stole her own coins, but that's not the case. A man had came back to town after he had gotten out of prison, and he ran into the lady who hid the gold coins and said something to her, and she felt bad, so she was gonna go get the coins, take it to the police, because then she felt bad, like he made her have a conscience. When she got ready to go get the coins, she found out that Danielle had been arrested, and she felt even worse, so she went and turned herself in and told him that she was the one that had the gold coins and hid them there, that Danielle had nothing to do with it. So they let Danielle go and they arrested her. I can't remember how they started putting the pieces of the puzzle together about the couple. I think it was Walt. He started putting the pieces of the puzzle together that it was a couple, and he ended up locking. This was the night that Danielle got arrested, and she was out at the police station, and Lily, her best friend, was at the station. He figured out that the couple wasn't really who they said they were, and they were trying to break into Danielle's room, and they were going to steal the necklace and sell it. Walt locked the lady in the bathroom, and he wrote a note saying who she really was, and then he tied up the man in Danielle's room and put the necklace right beside him and wrote a note telling the police who he was. And then he called 911, but clearly he can't talk because he's a ghost. But they sent the police, and when the police came, they found the notes and found him tied up and the lady stuck in the bathroom. They ended up going to prison, but they tried to lie their way out of it. And the manager got arrested, the bank manager, because he was behind all of it. He was the mastermind. And the leprechaun man, he went to the other side finally, because once he realized that he was dead, and Danielle started putting the pieces of the puzzle together on his life and how he got to that point, everything made sense. But he was like really mean before that. Like, he was gonna get those gold coins. I don't know what he was gonna do with them, but he was gonna get them. And like, he was just kind of mean. But once he realized what happened to him and that he was dead, he was much nicer. He ended up moving on. That's the gist of that one. Danielle was not guilty of anything. It was her coins. So I don't know if she put them back in the bank or not. They didn't say any of that, but that's the gist of that. They wanted to steal her necklace. The leprechaun moved the camera. I don't know though. They said the manager did. Somebody moved the camera, but the leprechaun moved the gold coins. It was just, I didn't enjoy that one as much, but I still would recommend. But for me, it's my least favorite. It was just very slow, and the whole leprechaun of it all I thought was kind of stupid. Leprechauns are not real. I don't know. I just didn't really enjoy it. Again, that one is called The Ghost and the Leprechaun. Now I am reading a different book that has nothing to do with the ghost books. I gotta do 2 on and 2 off, like I've said, but I didn't want to forget those 2. I'm gonna go to bed now because I'm exhausted. So I hope that you enjoyed. Like always, don't forget to subscribe. I don't think I did too bad with this one. I'm gonna get better as I keep doing these book reviews. I don't think I did that bad this time though, but I hope that you enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you on my next one. Bye.